This is the last lecture of this domain. We are now going to explore social engineering and phishing, two key attacks faced by organizations throughout the world. So we'll start with social engineering. So humans are the weakest link in the security chain. You can have the best security systems and tools installed in your organization and state-of-the-art, security posture. But if the people who are using those tools, or if the people who work in your organization, they are not properly trained, then you will definitely have a security breach. In fact, more than 80% of successful data breaches and hacks, they start with successful phishing scams, which target people. Now, social engineering basically exploits humans to get them to do some of the following. For example, it could be to share their passwords. So somebody could pose as an IT rep and call you, posing as a legitimate person, to get you to share your password. Or, you could find a USB just, sitting there on the street, dropped in the parking, and, you're tempted to plug it in your system. And so usually this is a very popular attack vector. So that USB sometimes has malware, which has been designed to autoplay as soon as you plug in your corporate network. So they have bypassed all the security boundaries and directly entered the core of your system. Or most famously, users could be, incentivized to click on malicious links and email attachments. You've won such and such prize, or there's a coupon, or there's a promotion. And these type of attacks often become more prominent when you have major events such as Christmas. So social engineering uses multiple attack vectors. It could be simple scam phone calls with someone posing as customer support or a banking agent, and they want you to divulge your sensitive credentials in order to reactivate your account and so on. So a nice safety tip is always to hang up and call on the official phone number. It could be a physical visit. So hackers, they sometimes masquerade as legitimate people, for example, a courier boy delivering mail in your organization. And they can obviously create fake badges, visiting cards, and tags. Perhaps the most popular attack vector for social engineering is through electronic means, which entails phishing emails or malicious websites. So phishing emails, they contain malicious links, and they try to trick users into clicking on them by using promises of prizes, or some imminent problem which is occurring, and if they don't take an action, something bad is going to happen, and so on and so forth. Or it could simply be bait, like a USB dropped on purpose in a parking lot or somewhere where they know that people are going to pick it up and maybe plug it in the corporate network. This bypasses all the security boundaries and all the security protections that are in place. Now, social engineering basically exploits human psychology. So, for example, they may exploit the legitimacy. So basically, the hacker, they can pose as a person of authority. For example, a manager, your CEO, or you could receive an email from your IT manager. Or they could also pose as a financial institution. For example, they may send email which appear to come from your bank or from a hospital, informing you of some important news. They often employ urgency and intimidation. So for example, they may say that the doctor needs this information very quickly, or this is an email from your CEO and I need it immediately. There's a presentation which I have to do in a few minutes, and we definitely need this information. So time is of essence. They always try to push you to get the sensitive information very quickly. Or they can leverage social ties. So for example, you may receive an email from one of your friends that he's trapped overseas and he needs some help. So you should share, your credit card information or something like that. So social engineering is all about exploiting human psychology for malicious purposes. So now we are going to discuss phishing in detail. So phishing is a social engineering attack which is designed to infiltrate organizations in order to get sensitive user information at the least. And they can even lead to installation of malware and more sophisticated attacks such as ransomware later on. And be mindful that phishing is one of the most popular attack vector. More than 80% of successful attacks occur due to phishing. So the user receives a fake email that appears to come from a legitimate institution such as bank or his organization, and it asks him to click on links. And then those links or the attachments, that files attached with it, they lead to malicious websites which download malware on your system, or they may capture sensitive information such as passwords, resulting in successful infiltration. Now, this is an example of a phishing email. As a cybersecurity specialist, you should be trained to detect phishing emails very quickly, or at least you should be able to detect suspicious emails, and then you can later on investigate to ensure whether it's a phishing email or not. So for example, in this case, we have an email address which is suspicious because we have never subscribed to this company, for instance. And then there are grammatical mistakes. So for instance, if you see here, they've said money and then full stop, and then they have brackets including balance. And then they have used your account's informations, not information. And then we requests. So these are telltale signs. Grammatical mistakes are often a telltale sign that this email could be phishing. And then you have a link. You don't have to actually click the link. Please never click links on which you're not sure about. If you right click them or you hover your mouse upon, you see that the URL shown is completely different to what this company claims to be. So this is also another telltale sign. And obviously then you have the attachment, which if it's an executable or something, or even if it's a Word file or a document, it may contain malicious macro codes. So these are some of the major red flags which should at the least make you suspicious. Another important point to note is that if you visit a domain, always remember to check the URL. So in this case, you may see a PayPal page, which is exactly like the official PayPal page. But if you see the URL closely, it's different. It's xyzpaypal.com. So you have to be careful. You have to be vigilant, because these types of attacks are very common. A domain can masquerade as legitimate domain and then, obtain your sensitive information. Now let's see how you can prevent phishing attacks. It's an integral part of the responsibility of a cybersecurity specialist to make sure that appropriate policies are enforced. So you should always have an IT security policy which makes users aware that phishing is the largest threat vector. This could be done through presentations or seminars, for example. You should also inform users about the consequences of phishing. This may lead to malware installation on your network. This may lead to ransomware, which is even more dangerous, or it could lead to data exfiltration. You should also share sample phishing emails along with common indicators that we just discussed. So this makes users more aware and vigilant. You should also instruct users not to click on suspicious links on open attachments. So one of the best ways to enforce all of these different things is to have clear reporting guidelines. So for example, if you work in an organization, you can always ask your users to report or forward any suspicious emails to the security department, which can then vet those emails and inform the users whether it was actually phishing or not. So a nice way to enforce these kind of policies are to have regular seminars or workshops. You can even have third parties conduct phishing exercises, just to train your users. So they generate fake phishing emails, and you can learn, how many users in your organization they click on malicious links, and then you can conduct training sessions to make them aware. You can make reporting even more streamlined. Instead of just emailing, you can integrate the reporting mechanism right into your email tools. For example, you're using Office 365. You can use this report as phishing button, which allows users to simply click it and immediately the phishing email is reported to IT security. So this streamlines the whole process, and there's also a follow-up mechanism which is built in, which makes easy for the user to track about the status of the reported email, and for the IT security department to respond to this. An interesting variation of the phishing attack is veiling. So veiling is a phishing variation in which the attackers masquerade as senior staff. So for instance, the HR manager may receive an email from the CEO telling him to urgently send employee HR information which he needs for a meeting. The fundamental difference between veiling and phishing is that phishing is more generic in nature, And the phishing emails are sent in mass. They're sent to a lot of people with the hope that even if a small subset of them click on the links, the attack would be successful. But the whaling emails are very specific and targeted, and they leverage specific information. So, for example, it could be an upcoming meeting or a visit. So, it's information which is known by that specific person, and they leverage this in order to craft a sophisticated attack. It's a growing threat. For example, Snapchat account department received an email apparently from the CEO asking for employee payroll information, which later on turned out to be incorrect, which was a whaling email. Similarly, the toy giant Metal also suffered a whaling attack when the finance executive received an email from a new CEO, and so on. So it's a growing threat, and it's far more dangerous because people in position of power in organization, they have more privileges and more access to sensitive information. So phishing or whaling have very serious consequences. So sometimes they lead to malware infections. So basically you can have viruses, trojans, rootkits, spyware, or even worse, ransomware installed. So this happens in two ways. Sometimes the attachment which is included in the email that itself contains malware, or sometimes the phishing link leads you to a malicious domain, and when you visit that domain you have a drive-by download and malware is installed into your systems. Another important point is that sometimes they don't install the complete malware directly. They first install a very small portion of it, which is called the dropper, which just kind of gets a foothold. And once it's there, it opens up a back door, and then it initiates a remote connection to the malicious server and downloads the bigger, more sophisticated files. It can lead to compromises of confidentiality of your data. It can lead to a denial of service attack, whereby your systems and your servers are not available to your employees and your clients. And perhaps more important is the reputational damage. This concludes our lecture. In the next one, we're going to do a lab on phishing, and we're going to see how phishing incidents are investigated.